Hi, and welcome to the Thrive Alcohol Free podcast. I'm Dupe Witherick, alcohol free wellbeing and transformational coach, and the best selling author of A Cocktail of Clarity, How to Ditch Drinking, Embody a Joyful New Identity, and Thrive Alcohol Free. This podcast will show you that being alcohol free is not what the traditional narrative says. And even though alcohol is so ingrained in our society that it is okay to give yourself permission to stop drinking if you want to. And you do not have to wait until you hit rock bottom. It is certainly not boring, and I believe ditching drinking is just the start to living an extraordinary life. By getting rid of this one thing, it allows the doors to open to endless possibilities and opportunities. Each week, we will have guests on who are at various stages of the alcohol-free journey, from those who are curious to those who have been alcohol-free for years. We will also have experts on talking about different topics relating to alcohol and beyond. Through these conversations, you will discover what it means to thrive alcohol-free. Enjoy. Hi, and welcome to the latest episode of the Thrive Alcohol Free podcast. I hope you are having a wonderful week. And if you are doing dry January, well done. Congratulations. We are one day off the end of dry January. It's the 30th of January, 2025. And I just wanted to congratulate you if you are doing dry January. It's an amazing feat. If you have managed to do 1 month without alcohol, then that's incredible. But most importantly, what is it that you found from doing this experience? How have you found it? How are you feeling? Have you seen any benefits? I really want you to reflect on what doing dry January has done for you, and maybe go back to the beginning and the reason that you did dry January in the first place. What was the reason? What encouraged you to take this step and stop drinking for 31 days? It's really interesting because it does seem, I was reading an article the other day, and it does seem that lots of people are beginning to go down this route of not drinking as much or not drinking at all, and really exploring what an alcohol-free lifestyle can look like. And that's so exciting. And then in terms of dry January, it's been a record-breaking year again in terms of the number of people doing dry January. So if you're one of them, well done you. But it's really then thinking about what next. So what do you do next? Do you go back to drinking? Are you going to try and moderate? Are you going to only drink occasionally? Or are you going to continue on this path? I find if you found some benefits in the 31 days, then most people that I work with actually then want to continue. And I like to think that this is a way of really embedding and integrating the first 31 days. And so if you've done the 31 days and you're wondering what to do next, I just say keep going. The sweet spot is 90 days or 100 days. And once you get to that point, you really will start seeing those benefits come to fruition. You'll suddenly see these opportunities come your way, and you will feel like a different person and wonder whether or not you'll ever go back to it. So I encourage you to do 100 days. If you want support with that, I'm actually running a 21-day challenge. You may have already done dry January, so you might think, well, what's the reason to do it? Well, this is open to you to continuing on this path and really getting the guidance and support and the tools that you need to keep going. And if you have been listening to me and you haven't done dry January, but you've been thinking, oh, actually, it could be good for me to take a break from alcohol, then why not do that? Why not join me for my 21-day challenge? It kicks off on Monday, the 3rd of February. You will receive daily emails with motivation, support, tools, guidance, and then we will have weekly group coaching. So you'll have an instant community of people all going on the same journey. It doesn't matter where you are, whether you've just done dry January or if you're just about to start, it will be catered for you specifically. And I think it's just going to be a great way to get people together who are on a similar path. And so feel free to head to my website and book a to be part of it. It's a very reasonable investment at the moment, and I'm excited to see you there. And as a little bonus, you'll also get a copy of my book, A Cocktail of Clarity. So, if you are staying on this path, or if you have been listening to this podcast for a while and you've been alcohol free, or you've been following me for a while and you are alcohol free, then I am so excited to tell you about an opportunity that's coming up. And I've spoken to it about it a few times, and there is an episode specifically on this. But I wanted to talk about Bali. I went to Bali last year with my husband and 10-year-old daughter, and we were there for a month. And it was the first time we've actually done a month anywhere on holiday. We tend to do a couple of weeks, 2 weeks probably was the maximum holiday that we would do, and really it tended to be sort of 10 days. We decided to do a month in Bali, and when we made that decision back in January 2024, I wasn't really sure how we were going to do it because I still had my two hats. I was working full time, and then I was also doing Thrive Alcohol Free and coaching and doing all of that. But I knew deep in my heart that I wanted to coach full time and really focus fully on my business, Thrive Alcohol Free Limited. So I knew I wanted to get there, and I thought actually, if we book this holiday in July, August, I will have got there. I will have got to that point, and I'll be able to focus fully on this new step and focusing on Thrive Alcohol Free Limited. I didn't know how it was going to happen. It was an intention that I set in January. And this is why I talk about intentions and setting intentions, because when you do that, things start to move, opportunities start to appear, and life shows you the way. It's all about taking that step of faith, really setting an intention, knowing what it is, because our subconscious minds are amazing, really. 95% of our lives is run on our subconscious mind. And it's really guiding us and finding things. It's able to find so many pieces of information, and really only our conscious mind can take in so many pieces of information, which is about 40 pieces of information at any one time. And so what our subconscious mind is doing is filtering. It's filtering and showing us what we want to see. So in that sense, we can create a reality that we want, whatever that reality is. Our conscious mind, when we think about something, we then actually get our subconscious going to find those things. And so if you think about when you want to buy a car, for example, you want to buy a car and then you suddenly start seeing that make and model of car everywhere you go. And it's because that's what's being brought forward. So by setting an intention, by setting a goal, and then thinking about how you want that to feel, what that could look like, and what that really means, you then start inviting those things in because you start seeing them because you're actually focusing on those things. And so I set this intention and we said, yeah, well, we'll book it in faith that we will be there and we'll go. And it happened. And we ended up being in Bali for a month. I left my corporate job and I was working full time in Thrive Alcohol Free Limited. And so we got to Bali and it was the most incredible experience. We didn't stay in a tourist area part of the island. We stayed in the north of the island. And that meant we could still do the touristy things. We hired a car and we had this intrepidatious exploring around the island. The roads weren't the best. We had some hairy moments, but it was lots of fun. But we stayed in a place that was very non-touristy, which meant we got to really experience the culture and the people. We were right on the beach. We saw beautiful sunsets and sunrises. We had the mountain in the backdrop of where we were. And we'd paddleboard into the sea and look back and just watch the sunset. And it was just stunning. And so during that time, a lot of reflection, a lot of thoughts went through my mind. I was really trying to work out what it was that I wanted, how I wanted to see the business, where we were going to go, how I was going to help people and really get this going. And there was a real sense of peace. And I meditated and I did yoga overlooking the ocean and just had lots of time to reflect and to really think about what next. And as a family, we just had so much fun. We laughed lots. We had the best days. We went for lots of days out and just loved it. And I came back just thinking how magical and amazing Bali is. And so it then sort of got our minds sort of thinking about, well, if we're able to work remotely, where do we want to be? And fast forward to today, we are now digital nomads, I suppose you could call us. We are currently in Marrakesh having a fab time and but going between the UK and Morocco. And we've created this lifestyle that, again, a year ago probably was never even on my radar. And so I wanted to encourage you with two things. One, to set intentions and think about it. We're still in January, you've still got time. Set an intention. You can set an intention at any part of the year, but obviously lots of people think January is a good time to do it. Set some intentions or set an intention. Think about a word of the year for yourself and what is it you want to hold on to and strive towards. And by doing that, as I said, you'll start to call things in that you just probably don't even know are there, and it's going to end up being much better than you could ever expect. And that's why I'm so excited to tell you about my Finding Freedom retreat in Bali. And the Finding Freedom retreat is really going to help you with all of that, but also help you experience the magic of Bali. There is definitely something in the air that gives you clarity, that helps you feel at peace, that brings you joy, that really just helps you start to think about your alignment. And so through the Finding Freedom retreat, which has been highly curated to bring together well-being, transformation, the culture of Bali, and for you to step into the fullness of your power and know exactly who you are and where you're going, we are going to have the best week. It's a 7-night retreat and it's an exclusive retreat. There aren't many of us. There are only going to be 12 of us in total. And it's going to be life-changing. For me, Bali changed my life, and I hope it's going to change yours as well. I'm going to take you on this holistic journey where transformation and well-being collide, where you understand and trust yourself so much more. You come home healed and nourished, and you know exactly what you want to do next to create and live the dreamiest life that you're destined for. So, this is a personal invitation for you to be part of this amazing space, and I hope you'll join me. I do want you to experience the magic of Bali. I want you to experience the essence of Bali. And I want you to experience the joy of Bali and come back changed. I think we all have the opportunity to change things, but we often hold ourselves back from even trying. And we talk ourselves out of it before we've even begun. But we don't need to do that. We think that someone's going to come and save us, or we think that we need to wait for the perfect moment. We tell ourselves stories all the time about why we can't do this one thing or that we know will actually bring us life and joy and just wholeness. And so the question I have for you today really is, what do you want? And if you could do anything in your life, what would it be? And if you had the opportunity to change something in your life, what would that be? Why don't you think about those answers and allow yourself to dream and think about what you really want? And for me, this is why the Finding Freedom retreat is going to be such an amazing opportunity. You'll be able to reflect and think about these things in a magical place away from those day-to-day stresses and the noise that seems to drain us and not allow us to ever stop and question. Bali does have this magnetic energy that lets you drop into your deepest desires. It heals, it grounds you, and it gives you that space to reflect while feeling nourished through the delicious foods and experiences. So, if you are ready to step into the life that you want and experience what being truly free is for you, and then come home and start to fully embody and live the dreamiest life you desire, then I would love you to join me in Bali on the 5th of June, 2025. As I said, it's 7 nights. It will be an amazing experience with like-minded women, and I really can't wait to see you there. So let's jump on a call, or if you have any questions, you can email me or head to @Thrive Alcohol Free on Instagram and DM me. I will leave the details below. but I'm so excited for the 12 of us who are going to be on this amazing experience in Bali, finding freedom and living our full potential and truly realizing how powerful and incredible we all are. And so come along. I can't wait to see you there. I'm really excited for today's guest. Today's guest is Kelly Siegel, and he is the CEO of National Technology Management, NTM. Kelly is also the author of Harder Than Life, and he has a new book coming out called Happier Than Life. He has an educational background in criminal justice and sociology from Western Michigan University. Kelly has been delivering results since running his first paper route at 12 years old. Beside his goal to make NTM the gold standard of the IT industry, his mission is to leave a legacy, or in Kelly's words, make a dent. And I love that, making a dent. His relentless drive to better himself is breaking his family cycle of abuse, addiction, and poverty. Kelly takes personal progress to the next level by continuously improving his physical, emotional, and mental health and performance by working out daily, reading voraciously, and practicing mindfulness. You'll find him feeding people at spontaneous cookouts in his backyard, volunteering his time for causes close to his heart, and mentoring the next generation of leaders. Kelly lives in Michigan with his daughter Ariana, their Yorkie Sammy, and cat Felix. He spends as much time as possible in Florida, preferably out on the water with Ari and good friends. It was such a pleasure to talk to Kelly, and I can't wait for you to listen to this episode. I know you're going to get lots of nuggets out of it. So without further ado, here is the episode with Kelly. Welcome, Kelly. Thank you so much for taking the time to be on the podcast. How are you today?
I'm lovely, a little cold. We're here in Detroit. Always a pleasure to be on to talk about the one thing that changed my life. So it's an honor to be on the show. I appreciate you reaching out to me and being diligent and following up.
No problem at all. Thanks for agreeing. So for those who may not have come across you, I'm sure a lot of people probably have, but those who may not have done, would you want to give a brief introduction in terms of who you are and how you happen to be on this podcast?
Well, I'm not sure how I got so lucky, but everything happens for you, not to you. So we had mutual friends and somebody introduced us, but my journey is probably much like all your listeners. Is just I was going along, very successful financially. On the surface, everything looked great. And it was until I kept looking in the mirror and not liking who the gentleman that I would see back at me. My face was puffy, my face was blotchy, kept finding myself in situations that just were not becoming of a man that I wanted to be, of a father that I was. And I just looked and said, something's got to change. And I was on a vacation in Key West, Florida, drinking and having a time of my life, sitting on the beach. And I just said, you know what? I got to take a break from alcohol. And it was like invigorating and scary all at the same time, because my entire existence revolved around being the life of the party, having a blast, being able to drink everybody under the table, and getting back up and being harder than life and actually doing the things that I need to do to get done every day to run a successful company. Or I own a successful IT company called National Technology Management. I'm a father, I'm a philanthropist, now I'm an author. And I just said, I'm going to take a 90-day break. And all my friends, all my drinking friends said, you're nuts, you're never going to make it, rah, 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 crabs in a bucket. And I went 90 days and I said, this is pretty good. I'm going to go another 90 days. And after that was 4th of July. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to drink. And I got on a boat with all my friends and I went to reach for a drink and I just got this anxiety. And I said, this isn't what I want to do. And I stopped the boat. I was driving and I stopped the boat and I hadn't pulled out yet. And I said, guys, I got to go. And everyone's like, what? Who's going to drive the boat? And I just jumped off and I went and spent the afternoon by myself on the 4th of July. And I realized at that very moment that I didn't want to drink anymore. And I didn't go to a program. I didn't call myself an alcoholic, or I used to joke and say I'm a drunk because alcoholics go to meetings. That's no pun intended, just the things that I'd say to myself. And I started on a journey 6 months into a little alcohol break and said, I'm done. And right at that point, my life got really, really, really hard. And I documented the entire journey in the Harder Than Life book. We are putting the finishing touches on Happier Than Life, because when you try to ascend to different levels, you meet different devils and you have to become a different devil slayer. So I had to be one person to just look in the mirror and go, this alcohol isn't working for me. And you gotta remember, I was making a ton of money. I was envied by a lot of people. On the surface, everything was great. It's just deep down, I felt out of alignment. So I had to change everything, and it got freaky and it got scary. And that's why people don't change, because it's scary. They'd rather have the familiar misery than the uncomfortable change. And then things just got incredibly better. Now, I wish I could say it was straight rocket ship, because it wasn't. Things got really good, and then they got really bad during the pandemic. Life was testing me, and that was probably one of the only times I really thought about drinking. I just passed 6 years. I hate that I did it on New Year's. I quit on New Year's just because it was my New Year's resolution. I said, I'm just going to take 90 days off. And then it stuck for 6 years. Wow. And it's a cheat code, Dupe. It's life has gotten so much better. And what do you know? I don't have the chaos I used to have in my life. I don't have headaches. That's just my intro. So just let's fire away questions, because I can dive into this stuff any which way you want to go.
Oh, thank you. I love that. It's amazing, isn't it? Because you think it's just it's a tiny thing, taking alcohol out of your life. It's not really, but you know what I mean? People think that can't make that much of a difference, but the way you describe it, it's just contagious, because you literally thought, I'm going to take 90 days. Then you thought, I'm going to drink because you've done that now. I'm going to go out with the boys on the boat. And there was just this thing. And can I ask, had you had any of those nudges or whispers or real thoughts that I need to stop drinking before this? Or was this just all of a sudden you thought, that's it, I want to stop?
They say hindsight is 20/20. You look backwards and you can see what God, the universe, source, whatever God wants you to heal or to address, he keeps sending it to you. He's got a funny sense of humor. Just keeps sending you. A lot of times it's in a toxic relationship. They keep sending you the same person until you heal. You keep sending you the same food until you can say no. Keep saying, hey, you have heart disease, get in the gym. Well, mine would always be centered around alcohol. Alcohol wasn't the problem, but every time there was a problem, alcohol was present. So there was definitely a correlation. It may not have been the causation, but definitely a correlation. So every time I ever got in trouble with the law, anytime I ever got in trouble with friends, with family, alcohol was present. So when I was 30, I was in Copenhagen, Thailand, and I was at the full moon party. And I didn't care if I lived or died. And I looked at myself and I said, I was 30 years old. I said, something's got to change. Something's got to change, or I'm not going to live. And I waited 13 more years. That's the biggest regret of my life. Most people say, oh, I don't have any regrets. Everything happens when it's supposed to happen. I wish I would have started this journey, I'd like to have half of those 13 years back, because I could be so much further. We're a top 25 podcast. We're working on getting to #1. I could have done this all so much sooner. But again, I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready until I was ready, until I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. And I had to look in the mirror, and most people are looking, oh, I don't have a problem. And I can hear them now. They've turned the dial, or they said, I don't have a problem. I only have one, or I only do it 1 day a week. I was talking to a gentleman the other day at the gym. He said, I only do it once a quarter. Like, what's the point? He was Superman hungover. And it's like, what's the point? So yes. And if you don't, you're lying to yourself. So if you go sit down and you're honest with yourself and you look in the mirror and you go, is this out of alignment? And then I should say this, even if you don't, and you're still listening to this, you're sober curious. So I would say, hey, give it a 90-day break like I did. 90 days, not 1 month, not dry January, not sober October. Dovetail that into 90 days, because they say it takes right around 90 days for you to develop it into a habit. So
Mm.
try it for 90 days. And if you don't feel better, I'll give you back all your alcohol money.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so true. I say the same thing, 90 days. Other people say 100 days, between 90 and 100 days. And then you definitely really see the benefits. You definitely know, or you've gone through a few things that make you think, actually, this is probably reduced my stress levels, it's increased my resilience, it's helped me just feel like I've got more energy, more time, and I'm seeing some changes. And obviously it's dry January now. So people that might be doing dry January, I think we just encourage them to extend that and see where they go. But what were the main things? Because obviously, as you said, your life was good. Everything was going well. You were making lots of money. You were doing well. People were envious of you. So, what would you say the main thing was that changed when you stopped drinking?
Well, I always tell people the reason my sobriety journey, and I don't even like to call it sober, my not drinking, because honestly, I don't sitting here saying I'm never going to drink again. I never went to AA. I didn't do anything. I don't believe I'm powerless over alcohol. So I'm the anomaly. So I just quit cold turkey with no real help. I just said this. I tell people, and this is the truth. It was a love story for me. I literally kept meeting. I always laugh. You attract what you are. So I
Yeah.
was a drunken whore and I kept attracting drunken whores. So I didn't want to be that anymore. So I said, what do I got to do? True story. I was going through a heartbreak. I was in Key West and I was going through a heartbreak, broke up with what I thought was the love of my life. And turns out that as soon as I got sober, she wasn't the love of my life. And that's the wildest thing is when you heal, what you used to find was fun and attractive will disgust you. You have to do a lot of healing because you have no more crutches. I don't want to say that this is glamorous, but it's worth it. So it was a love story. And now I'm happy to say many years later, I found someone who she drinks one glass of wine. So even though I don't drink, she drinks one glass of wine here and there, never gets drunk, never out of alignment. And I attract my equal. And it's a true love story come full circle. Now I've launched a big podcast. Like I said, we're top 25 in self-improvement. We've got book number 2 coming out, which will most undoubtedly be an Amazon bestseller, hopefully New York Times bestseller. We've got a massive coaching program where we're helping people get in alignment with alcohol and literally just live their best life. Really, I say to be happier than life. So if you want to be happy, there's a lot of things you got to get rid of in your life. It's this addition through subtraction. And for me, it was alcohol. And people always say, how much were you drinking? And it doesn't matter. It's not helping you. Ask yourself this. What has alcohol ever done for you? I was on a call with my mentor, Dan Martell, yesterday. He's been on the podcast. You can tune in the Hard Life podcast, listen to Dan and why he quit drinking. And at the end of the day, he said, alcohol is poison. He's like, if you're going to do anything, do anything else other than alcohol. I don't care if you take psilocybin. I don't care if you take mushrooms. I don't care. Same thing. I don't care if you take weed. He's like, just don't drink alcohol. It's poison. And I always say this one, if you need alcohol to make something fun, it probably just ain't fun.
Yeah. It's
But
so
the famous
true.
one, though, Dupe, is always, oh, I'm a social drinker. I need it to be able to talk and to conversate, to be social. I'm a social drinker. No, you don't. That's your crutch. And that's the story you're telling yourself. And it's an absolute lie because I am more social not drinking than I ever was. Because you know what I did? I would hug you and I would be looking for the bar and I wouldn't be, and nobody cares what's in your drink. I wouldn't be present. And now I come in, I look you right in the face and I'm like, Dupe, tell me all about you. What's going on? Now, when you heal, when you've done the massive healing I've done. Now, what I did is that opened Pandora's box. They're not drinking open Pandora's box for me. I then went on to do massive talk therapy. Then I went to hypnotherapy. Then I went to EMDR therapy. Then I did plant medicine. And I've reached some level of peace. And now we're trying to get the podcast to number 1. So life is a video game. So the first level was be successful. And I call that the first mountain. And then when I said, okay, I'm successful, but I don't like myself, then I tore it all down and went to level 2, which is arguably the hardest one. And then you have to be able to rebuild your life with no masks, no crutches, no negative coping mechanisms. You have a lot, but there's other ways. Now, don't forget, people tend to trade one for the other. So, okay, I quit freaking drinking. I grabbed cannabis. or I got a prescription drug or something else. I did nothing. I do nothing. That's what I wrote my Happier Than Life book about. If people message me, first of all, please, all your listeners, everybody listening to this, follow me on social media, kelly.siegel.71 on Instagram. I'll send you, you message me Dupe, I'll send you a copy of the PDF of Harder Than Life. And then when Happier Than Life comes out, I'll send that to you as well. It is going to be the 5 steps to thrive in 2025. And it's that taking that, I'm probably on level 5 now, where 2 was the breakdown, 3 was, oh, I can live like this. This is good. 4, I started the podcast, and I would say I'm on level 5 to take it to the next level. You're going to see us everywhere doing everything in 2025. So it gives you unlimited energy. It is a cheat code. If you're even thinking about it, and how you know, Dupe, is when someone talks about not drinking or alcohol in any way, you get some sort of butterfly in you. It doesn't have to be a good, it doesn't have to be bad. It's just you feel some kind of something. And you know there's something we need to go down. But then it gets scary because you figure out, once you figure out the real reason why you drink, then the work starts. And that's why I did all the other therapy, because that's when people start drinking again. It's like, I was unlovable, or I was not loved as a child. I was abused. The alcohol made me somebody that I wanted to be. Turns out I can be that person without alcohol. And then you have to heal that trauma. For me, it was the years of abuse from my parents. And I'm not talking just a little bit of abuse. I mean, I was told I was nothing. I was beat. I was stomped on. I was drowned. I was shot at. I was stabbed. It's been everything. And then my parents were both alcoholics. So it was like, this is what you did. You drank until you're that one person that just breaks the cycle of abuse, breaks the cycle. And I jumped off the hamster wheel gladly. And now the proof's in the pudding. I have 2 houses, 2 boats, 5 cars, 2. And that's just physical stuff that I don't give a crap about. Let's talk about how I feel. I'm in the best shape of my life at 49. I got a 6-pack of abs. People, how do you do it? You take steroids. They keep hating on me, man. I'm going to just keep doing the work. And I have full bars in all my houses, all my boats. I don't have the temptation. I never, ever, ever feel the urge to drink because I healed it. And it's an empowering thing. There is nothing on this earth that requires me to have a drink, not a celebration and not a sadness. Nothing.
Yeah, it's a really powerful message, Kelly, really powerful. And I hope the person that's listening is taking this on board, because it just goes to show that you do the work, and healing is hard. And I'd like to go back to your 30-year-old self. And you said that was your lowest point, it sounds like, where you really weren't even sure you wanted to be there. And then you had another 13 years before you stopped. You've obviously healed a lot of that, but what would you have said to your 30-year-old self that may have actually triggered that person to do something sooner?
That's a beautiful question, because I have had that conversation many times. So one of the healing things I had to do was, obviously, I lost 13 years. That really wasn't my low point. I was having a blast. I mean, I was in Koh Phangan, Thailand. You have to basically get on an airplane for 24 hours. That was a blast. I didn't care. It was pre my daughter. So I didn't care if I lived or died. I said, I'm on a mission from God and I'm going to have a blast. I was partying with Liam Neeson. It was insane. If anybody's never seen the full moon, Google it. Full moon party in Koh Phangan, Thailand. Insane. That wasn't my low point. My low point was my 40th birthday party, where I just acted a fool. I was hammered. I was high. And you asked me a specific question. I was going to get to it, but I was kind of going around it. It was, what would I have told my 30-year-old self?
Yes.
So what would I have told my 30-year-old self? I envision big, muscular Kelly now, putting my arm around big, muscular Kelly then, and say, let me show you what life's going to look like without alcohol. And I would show them all the gains and not measure the gaps. So what'd you give up? This is what we gained. And I would tell him I love him, and all the stories that you're telling yourself in your head, the reason why are lies. Thoughts are magical lies. And if you start this now, you'll be able to make a bigger impact on more people, and that it's safe, you're loved, and he's okay. And to do it when he's ready, because he would have said, screw you, I know what I'm doing. At 30, I probably could have got him at, I know I could have got him at 40, but I wish somewhere around that 35, 36. I remember having a scotch just because it just became a habit. I'd come home and I'd start cooking dinner, and it was just either my girlfriend at the time or whoever I was, they'd pour me a scotch. It'd be sitting there waiting for me. And I didn't have a little baby scotch. It was a nice big one with a rock ball. And while I was cooking, I'd finish one and I'd have another one at dinner. And that became every single day. And that's what happens when people drink. It snowballs. So I would show them the difference and say that I love him, and that you could make a massive, significant impact on humanity if you start this now. And that would have scared the hell out of him and made him excited at the same time. And for me, you got to do both. It's got to be so freaking scary that it's just like, no way. But it's also got to excite me. That's what being scared does. I was so scared my entire upbringing from my parents. I mean, whenever they came home drunk, it was like, am I going to live or die tonight? And I'm talking, I was 8 years old. I wasn't old. They finally quit drinking cold turkey when I was 14, and then they just took all of their rage out on me. I'd rather take the alcohol parents, the drunk parents, than the sober parents who didn't have the internet, the books, the knowledge that we have access to today. I have 5 books that I brought that everybody thinks, oh, AA. That's not the only thing you have. You have me, you have you have YouTube. There's several books. And it was a funny thing, stories that somebody handed me a book from Annie Grace right at that 6-month mark when I was thinking of drinking again. Somebody hands me, I'm like, oh my goodness, this is a sign from God. And the funny thing about it, it was a bar owner, a friend who owned a bar, said, Kelly, I saw this book and thought of you. Sent it to me. So there are books. If you go listen to my podcast, I've interviewed several alcohol coaches. One of the funniest ones in the world is Colleen Craikman. She's all over freaking TikTok. And she's hilarious. But, the beauty thing about this world is it doesn't have to be a zero-sum game. It doesn't have to be all or nothing. There are, like Colleen believes as long as you understand why you drink, you could probably still drink. But she says just 1 or 2. Now, you can go into the Huberman studies, Jordan Peterson studies, and realize that it causes cancer. I'm not going to get on a soapbox. All I can tell you is that the biggest thing for me that I didn't even know was going to happen is I've been an avid exercise guy for years, and I had all this inflammation, and I thought it was from working out for 30 years. Well, when I quit drinking, it took a year for all that inflammation to go away, and nothing hurts on me. I'm 49 years old. I lift heavy weights 7 days a week. I'm on this journey right now to work out 500 times this year. By the way, I don't recommend it. I don't know what I was thinking, but I remember me telling you I needed something scary and hard and fun all at the same time. When I said 500 workouts, I said, that's impossible. Well, impossible says I'm possible right in that word. So as we're sitting here today on January 23rd, I'm 39 workouts in already this year. So it is tough, but I love that. It's what's harder than life that allows me to be happy.
Yeah, gosh. You've got so much there, Kelly. And when you talk about setting these big, audacious goals and knowing that you can achieve them, and knowing that alcohol, taking that out, has helped you to do this. 500 workouts. I have to say, people end up stopping drinking and end up doing hard things. I've run 2 marathons. I wasn't a runner before I stopped drinking 4 years ago. So I hadn't run since school, like 25 years. And it was scary. When I said I was going to do a marathon, I was like, yeah, I don't know if I can do it. But I loved every moment of the first one. I was like, this is incredible. And you're right.
Doesn't everything fun need to be a little scary? Everything fun needs to be scary.
Absolutely. And then you also doubt yourself, don't you? You think, can I really do this? And then you end up doing it and thinking, well, that's a tick. And it's the levels that you were talking about in terms of going from one to the next. And so whoever's starting on this journey and is maybe about to hit level 2, what 3 tips would you say about sort of breaking down your life and rebuilding it?
First of all, I say, Don't do it the way I did it. I did it cold turkey and alone. And I hid myself in my house and balled up in a car. So you have help. There's you, there's me, there's family, there's friends. The challenge becomes there's also a lot of people that want to keep you doing what you're doing because it's a reflection that they're not ready to level up. So you'll have several people that go, dude, you don't have any problem with that drinking. You just get a little wild, or you can't do that. You have to get rid of all your friends. And then you just open your journal and write their names down and realize you're going to need to distance yourself from them because that's their limiting belief, not yours. So the number one thing is that you're not alone. I would highly suggest if you don't do AA, which I'm not a big fan of, I go to support people when AA, but I find it to be really people who are struggling and fighting. So that's not the majority of the people. What is it? I read in Mike Hardenbrook's, what's his book's name? Here's a bunch of books I got. Mike Hardenbrook wrote No Willpower Required. By the way, here's all the books. Here's Naked Mind from Andy Grace, No Willpower Required, Unbottled Potential by Amanda Kuda, Mike Diamond, A Dose of Positivity. This guy's story's wild. They've all been on the podcast, a Hard Life podcast. But I was going down a story and I forgot my train of thought. And it was about, he said that there's 10% of people are unfortunately probably a little bit too far gone. My father died of alcoholism and drugs. So he was part of the 10%. And then there's 10% of people that just don't even drink. So it's that middle 80% that we're working on. And half of those are teetering towards going to the bad 10%. So we got to focus on that majority of people. And the majority of people just want to have fun, and it just gradually gets out of alignment. So what do we tell people? I say get in some therapy, talk therapy. It's so simple. You can get on BetterHelp. Most health insurance providers do cover this now, just to talk about these thoughts and feelings that are going to come up. One of the things I didn't do, which I wish I would have done, which is journal your thoughts and feelings to first of all, get them out of your head so you don't spiral. Most often people spiral, and the only way that they know how to freaking get out of it is to drink, is get them out of your head and then look for triggers and then take those triggers to your therapist. I dove into working out hard. Anytime I had a craving or a feeling that I didn't understand, I went right to the gym. And I did a lot of gratitude. It is impossible to be stressed and grateful at the same time. So gratitude, gratitude, gratitude. And then I indulged into my mind hardcore. I became a learn-it-all. I filled all the time that I used to spend drinking and partying with reading and podcasts. So while everybody's going and doing this stuff, you're still going to get invited. I went, and it was one of those negative reinforcements. I'm weird. I see something that I don't like, and it repels me. I'm not one of the sheep that needs to follow you into the slaughterhouse. No, I'm good. So I did that, but I wouldn't recommend that. If I can go back and redo this journey, I would have cut off some relationships a lot sooner. I would have cut off places a lot sooner, because most of us don't have the willpower or the coping mechanisms and the healthy habits and rituals to deal with the reasons why we picked up that alcohol to begin with. If we knew what the reason were, we would remedy it and walk away. It will come out, and it's going to come out in absolute calamity, craziness, and it's going to test you. Because when you make a change like that, life goes, oh, really? We're going to throw the kitchen sink at you. And it did to me about 15 months into my sobriety. Like, it threw more stress at me than I knew what to do with. And, came in the form of the national pandemic, my business shutting down, my largest customer leaving us, my daughter got taken away from me. And I looked up at God and go, what are you doing to me? What are you trying to teach me? Because I'm not going to cave. You made me. I'm tougher than anything. I'm harder than life. What are you trying to teach me? And that was the final straw before things started getting really good. Wanted a couple year absolute freaking couldn't lose. I couldn't lose if I was trying for a couple of years. And then now we're going through another thing. I always tell people, if you flatline life, life is going to have its ups and downs and ups. What is that? That's a heartbeat. If we flatline, we're dead. You're just doing the same thing over and over. You're just dead. So you're going to run into some things. Seek help, but it doesn't have to be professional help, but it could be a sober friend. There's so many of us now, by the way. It's absolutely really cool to not drink anymore. And nobody cares what's in your cup. That's the weirdest thing in the world. If you quit drinking water, everybody's like, oh, that sounds cool. But if you say, I quit drinking alcohol, they're like, whoa, what's wrong with you? Are you an alcoholic? Like, I quit taking crack. Oh, good. You should try to do that. But alcohol, you have to explain yourself.
It's the only drug you have to justify not taking. It's so true. It really
But
is.
keep in mind, I said this before, it's something like $20 billion is taken in on taxes on alcohol. I believe if you add in cannabis, it's another 8 billion. So this ain't going away. Alcohol is never going away. Even though they're losing money at an alarming pace, it is a small subset of people that are drinking the majority of the alcohol. There's facts. It's actually in that No Willpower Required book. 80% of the alcohol is consumed by 20% of the drinkers. That's crazy. I was part of that, by the way. I had a lot of fun. Just think of all the savings that you get. I bought a house in Florida with my alcohol, with the money I used to blow on alcohol.
Yeah, it is amazing. And I've got a very similar message to you. It's all about what you're gaining. You're not giving anything up. And I do think the scary fact is that the amount of money the alcohol industry spend on marketing and the amount of things that I didn't know prior to stopping drinking about the impact on health, the way that we've been brainwashed over the years, and they've targeted women specifically over a certain period of time. When I was growing up, that's when they were hammering women in terms of you've got to drink these lady drinks that we're making for you, and you just don't know what you don't know. But once you know, you can't unknow it. And so
you can't unsee it. That's all right. Because if you look at the
Exactly.
commercials, the most interesting man in the world drinking, is that Corona or Dos Equis? Dos Equis. It's insane how they glorify it. And you go out and you drink and you make dumb decisions. You call that going and having fun. It's like, no, I don't want to wake up with a stranger. I don't want to say things I don't mean. None of us want that. I get that you want to be a little bit more social, but just go and try it. It's that scary thing again. Try it, and I guarantee you won't regret it.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I want to pick up on the fact that you said 15 months in, you were really tested. And so because people talk about the pink cloud and experiencing this amazing thing, maybe 6 months in and this euphoria, but you're right, we all then seem to get tested, and it's that, will you keep going or will you not keep going? When you were being tested, you obviously shared some really good tools like journaling, gratitude, etc. But when you were going through that time of testing, which inevitably most people will hit at some point during this journey, what would you say was the thing that kept you going?
Well, first of all, I will tell people that if you have a slip up, it's not the end of the world. You can start again. And however long that you didn't drink, you have that time. That could never go away. So you can start again. So don't beat yourself up. And it's very, very common. There's a common thing that, like right now, I do believe I could have one drink and not need to have 3 or 4 or 5. I never was that way, but it just turned into that. So I could go have one drink, but then I go, why? What benefit have? So you go back to what did I use to, it's such a good question. I used a multitude of things. I used fear. That's what I did. I did not want to go back and live the life that I was living. I was so afraid of being that person. I was so afraid of really being alone. And that's funny because I was never alone when I drank. I was always had people around me, and a lot of people. I had boats. I had big houses with pools. So I was always someone around. I was not alone, but I was lonely because these were not people that were looking out for any of our best interests. So I just did not want to feel alone. Misery loves company, but it hates being alone. So what did I do? I went into the darkness. God said if he wants to hide the secret of happiness, he'd hide it in 3 places: solitude, stillness, and silence. So that's where I went.
Mm,
I went right
mm,
down that, and I was alone, I was silent, and I was still. And boy, did I not like it. So that's where Harder Than Life came from, because when it gets hard, that's fun to me. So I leaned into it, and I knew it was a test, and I knew if I passed that test, I would get to the next level. And then I will tell you, this is the best part about it. And this happened for me. This doesn't happen for everybody, but it happened for me. And I believe I'm going to do some studies in this, but I believe if you're not a full blown alcoholic, that you reach a point where you do heal what it is and you don't want to drink anymore. That's where I've reached. I just
mm,
don't. I don't sit around, and I have dear friends that they have to work at it. Like, they have the urge to drink
mm,
24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and they have to work at it. And I help them, but I don't. As a matter of fact, if I had one sip of alcohol, I'd probably lose my mind, because I used to say, "Oh, I love alcohol because it gives me control, makes me better at control. I can handle the situation better." Truth be told, it's the exact opposite. I can handle a situation 1,000 times better sober, because I'm not misreading a situation. I'm not
mm,
saying something that I didn't mean, or going too overboard and hurting people's feelings. There was no
mm,
filter. They call it no filter for a reason. You just blurb out anything. So what I say to people that think is, keep going. And if you did slip up, start over,
mm,
because sometimes it takes several tries. Ed Milet's dad took, I think he said 6 or 7 tries. I have a dear
mm,
friend who is a multimillionaire, has a beautiful family. He went to rehab 7 times, and eventually it'll stick. If you want it bad enough, it will stick. And that's how everything in
mm.
this life is. Everything works if you work it, and you cannot beat somebody who never gives up. So just hang in there. And if you're in that point, guys, message me. Message me on Instagram. I watch it all the time. And just say, what can I do right now? And that's the biggest thing, is just talk about it. This is what I'm feeling. Truth be told, I had this Monday morning anxiety. I call it anxiety.
Mhm,
I had anxiety, and I was hungover. And this morning I had that. I haven't had that
mm,
feeling in forever. And
mm,
it's turns out that maybe some of that was I have excited anxiety. Like, I'm so excited. I was excited to come on this podcast. I got 3 more podcasts that I'm recording for Harder Than Life today. I got to record some videos, and then I'm jumping on a plane and going to see some people out west to go skiing. I'm excited, but it's a lot that I got to get done. I still got to pack, and I leave this afternoon. So I found myself getting anxiety. What did I do? I'd already journaled. I'd already meditated this morning. I already worked out this morning. So I sat back down and I meditated again, and I said, got it. I'm good. I got this.
mm,
And I
mm,
remember who I am. And this is an easy thing. And I'm sorry, I'm going to swear for a second. If you're ever not sure what's going on and you need alignment, just say your name and say fucking, right? Kelly fucking Siegel. That's who I am. That's who you are. You are here for a reason. You're meant to do great things. And when you drink alcohol, it doesn't allow you to be your best self. And
wow.
again, I happen to have no alcohol. My girlfriend has one or none. And so I'm not one of those people that says you absolutely can't drink it, but there are people that are like that. And just to me, it's if it's a problem, if there's an issue in your life and that's always present, then eliminate it. Try it for 90 days.
Mm. Yeah, remember who you are. That is so great. And I really think people have forgotten who they are. People forget who they are, don't they? So,
Oh, well, because it's so easy. You're freaking, you're masking, you're numbing and dumbing.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know how many
yeah.
times I would look in the mirror and, I remember that like it was yesterday, and it's been years. I remember going to the bathroom, looking at my face and going, who the heck are you? This is
Mm,
not you.
mm,
And if you're doing that, I know somebody's nodding, going, oh my God. And every picture that with social media boom was going, and every picture I'd see myself, I would be puffy and blotchy. And it just, who are you, Siegel?
mm,
Now I know who I am. I'm peaceful in my heart,
yeah.
and I am calm. and I have love for everybody. And I'm free in my mind, free to roam about the world. I don't owe anybody anything. I'm not looking over my shoulder. There was so many stupid things that I did when I was drinking, and I always looking over my shoulder. It's just beautiful. It's beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah, let's talk a bit more about the freedom part, because I've got a retreat coming up in Bali, the Finding Freedom retreat. And I love the word freedom. For you, what does that mean, being free?
Freedom is just being peace. I just said it, peaceful in my heart. It's
Mm,
being completely in alignment with who I want to be and who I am. But the challenge with me is I'm always trying to, I'm moving the goalposts and I'm trying to be better than I was the day before. So there is some part of me that has to remind myself, hey, everybody in the world would trade you for your problems right now. So your problems are not that bad and they don't require anything. So I have to have that balance. But the freedom to me is in your mind, you're always trying to figure out how are you justifying this bad, deviant, less than behavior. And that occupied a lot of energy in my brain. And what happens as soon as you get rid of that, if you don't fill it with positivity, it'll fill right back with negativity. So I do that every single day. And I love my life. I love myself. And that's a lot of what it had to start with, was looking in the mirror and realizing that I didn't love myself. People that love themselves aren't drinking to get drunk. That is a choice that makes you. And if I ask anybody in this world, do you love yourself? The first question, oh, of course. And then you go look in their calendar or go look at what their social calendar, what they did the last few days. And you're like, okay, you got hammered here. You didn't show up for work there. You skipped the gym this. You ate McDonald's or some crap here. That is not loving yourself. Look at your choices. Look at your calendar, and I'll tell you if you love yourself. It's not an opinion. It is fact. By looking at someone's calendar, look at their inputs, and then you'll no wonder what their outputs are.
yeah, yeah, so true, so good. So thank you for your generous offer of people getting in touch with you on Instagram to get your book. Can we talk about your book, Harder Than Life? Tell us a little bit about it.
It is so odd. I reread it over the holiday. And what I'm doing right now is I'm an avid reader now. I used to be a reader, and then I'd party so much, it became few and far between. And then now I'm at least a book a week. And I am starting to reread books. And as the podcast grows in rankings, we're getting bigger and bigger guests, and we're getting a lot of authors. And I just was given a book by John Acuff, Soundtracks. And I'm reading the book, and I'm like, I remember I've read this before. And I go on my library, and I look, and I see it's way at the top. I actually read it at the pinnacle of me going through the stuff. And I read it again, and I'm a different person now, and it's wild. So where I mean by this, my favorite book in the whole wide world is The Four Agreements. Be impeccable with your word. Don't make assumptions. Don't take anything personal, and always do your best. I live and die by those. I would repeat those over and over and over again. And then I read this book, Love Yourself Like Your Life Depends on It, because it does. I say all that to tell you this. I reread my book. I wrote that during the pandemic. While everybody was out day drinking and having fun, I declared war on myself. And I journaled about it, and I took those journals and I turned it into a book. So I really wrote that in 2020. So we're in 2025. I'm a different person. So the Happier Than Life book picks up where that left off and goes to the next level. So all I did was say, hey, this is my alcohol journey. This is where I got to. I'm now 15 months into it. I dropped alcohol. And then I said, this is what I'm going to do next. And it picks up from there. And it just tells funny, hilarious stories on how I got to where I was. Now, one day I'm going to have to write a book that says, here's what it could have been without alcohol. Hey, I've had some fun times. I've done some great things. Alcohol did put me in situations that I otherwise wouldn't have been able to be in. But when you go to some of these, I get now invited to massive events. You walk in there, very few people drink, even one. I was with Ed Milet, John Maxwell, John Gordon. None of them drank. And I was dying laughing because I was the first person there, and they had a bar in the corner, and there were a bunch of people running home. I go, ooh, you're not going to like that. And not a single one of the people that were putting on the event had a drink. I went to this Unstoppable Summit in Dallas. Now that I think about it, they didn't have alcohol there, but there was a bar right downstairs, and everybody was down there drinking non-alcoholic beer. So keep in mind too, there's never been more non-alcoholic options. So if you just want to fit in, I am an idiot that I love the taste of alcohol and beer. I do. So I drink non-alcoholic beer. I drink the Heineken Zeros. There's so many different things that are coming out because they're losing market share. The word's out. Dupe's been out here telling everybody, don't drink, don't drink. I've been doing it. People are getting the hint and hearing about it and quitting, so that they have to keep their market share. But Anheuser-Busch is a big business. They don't sponsor the Super Bowl with fake money. They have to freaking make money. So they're releasing non-alcoholic options. And then now as cannabis, I don't know what it is in the UK, but here in the United States, it's almost legal everywhere. So people are choosing that more than the alcohol. There's sober bars everywhere now. You can go and and they don't serve alcohol. They sell mocktails, which are fantastic. So the book is fantastic. It's an easy, quick read. It's very graphic. I show about the abuse because that's literally why I drank. My stepfather gave me a beer at 8 or 9 years old, and that was camaraderie to me. And I associated that when I had that alcohol, that was camaraderie and it was safety because he wasn't beating me. As long as I fed him alcohol and I had one with him, again, he was alone. So I was his drinking buddy at a young age. Ooh, that sunk something into my subconscious that it took years to get out. And so the book is great. The new one will be out in about a month. And really, you got to read them in order because it tells you why we want to be harder than life. And it's fleeting. Everybody, don't chase happiness. Chase joy. Chase fulfillment. It says right in the Bill of Rights, the pursuit of happiness. It's one of our inalienable rights. So I'm going to pursue the heck out of it. And I give you the platform in the second book, Happier Than Life, of how to do it. It's the daily rituals and routines that I do non-negotiably that keep me with my freedom.
Yeah. So I'd love to hear. So what are your non-negotiables?
They're pretty easy. And if you think about it, a lot of people do these and they're not proprietary to me. They're not only to me. I have a lot of people do it. So my daily ritual is the same, everything. I journal every day. I read every day. I meditate every day, work out every day, and I plan every day. Those are the 5 things I do every single day, and gratitude. And then there's a list of things that I absolutely under no circumstances will ever do. And it's be involved in drama. Really, for me, it's not even drama. I don't go places where people are talking about other people. It's just a place that I don't want to be a part of. That's gossip, and that's people that don't love us. I want to talk about doing big things. And so there's a list of non-negotiables that I won't do either. I won't be in situations where I go where I'm celebrated, not where I'm tolerated. If the energy is off, I am gone faster to fast. That's the beauty part. If I could give you one benefit of not drinking, you don't have to say goodbye at parties because they don't even remember. I just bolt and I'm like, oh yeah, I was there till midnight. And they're like, oh yeah. But I wish I could say it was all rainbows and unicorns, but people look at you. You don't get invited to as many things. You start feeling like you're an outsider. Good. That means it's working. Keep going.
Yeah. And it is amazing how many successful people do not drink. And that again was an eye-opener for me when I read about all these people in the personal development space, actors, actresses, all these people, the upper echelons, so-called celebrities, and none of them drink. And there's a correlation there, right? There must be.
Well, you see the ones that are chaotic, the Charlie Sheens of the world and the Johnny Depps of the world. And they're the ones that create all the chaos and they drink like crazy. So the other way is true too. But yeah, it was astounding about a little bit into my journey. I did Google. You want to be astounded. Google celebrities that don't drink. It's wild.
It is wild.
But
no one talks about it.
I've interviewed a bunch of people, massive people, Jen Cohen, Jen Gottlieb, I was just with Ed. He'll have one with his
Mm.
cigar, but it's just it's cool, man. It's cool, and ain't nobody gonna look at you. The only people that are gonna look at you are the people that are out of alignment, that are intimidated by it, and that's cool. I'll be the leader.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And that's what it's all about, isn't it? Because so many people follow. So many people end up being the followers. And actually, when you stop drinking, you are a leader. That is a leading move there, isn't it?
Dupe, I know that you're so I we just recently introduced. How old were you when you quit?
40. I
Yeah,
stopped
see, I
four
was
years ago.
43.
Yeah,
I was
yeah,
43. And
yeah,
and there's a news flash, man. When you hit that 40,
yeah,
things just don't operate on your body the same way. So figure this
absolutely.
out before 40. If you can do
Yeah,
it in your 20s, it's a cheat code. My daughter, the beauty part about it is my daughter, she's 16. All the kids are drinking and experimenting. She has zero desire. And it isn't because
brilliant.
I told her not to. She just watches. It's caught, not taught. So she
Exactly.
just watches.
Yeah.
And I said to her, I said, honey, if you want to drink, if you want to experiment, do it on my night, because I have her
Mm,
50% of the time. Her mom has her 50%. Do it on my night.
mm,
I'll pick
mm,
you up and I'll take care of you and I'll make sure you're safe. I think I
mm,
took away the mystique. And
mm.
she just looks at people and she'll record them and send me the video. She's like, look at this. What's going on? She's like, this is fun. So again, it's caught and not taught. If you do have a child and you want them to live their best life, stop drinking and then
Yeah.
show them that that's not the way. Because I learned the hard way, and we don't
Mm.
have to learn the hard way.
It's so true. And it is nice to see more younger people in their 20s and 30s stopping. But I did a post on that yesterday about you need to stop at 40. You come to a crossroad at 40 and you have a choice, and you can either keep going, let life keep going, and you just stay in that lane, or you can change your life. And ditching drinking will be the start of that.
You know what? You want to take years off your life? Drink. I'm going to live well into my
Mm,
hundreds now, and I would have never been
mm,
able to do that with alcohol.
yeah, yeah. Well, thank you. I feel like it's come to a natural pause, but I could talk to you forever. Anything else you wanted to add before we close?
I just want everybody to know that the world, I want everybody to be awesome, be kind, love everybody, tell the truth, and live your best life. And you do that by making tough choices. And tough
Yeah.
choices, here's the easiest way to know if something's good for you. If it feels good immediately, it's probably bad for you long term. If it feels terrible immediately, it's probably good for you long term. Think of it.
Mm,
Gym. Oh, nobody wants to go to the gym. But you leave the gym, you feel great. You want to have alcohol? You're like, yes, I'm so excited. And then the next day, you're hungover. So just
mm,
that's the litmus test. And
yeah.
again, just look around. If you success leaves clues. Go look
Mm,
at your mentors, see if they're drinking, and if they're
mm,
not, emulate them in every aspect of your life. For me, I've put it in the book Happier Than Life. The 5 things that I do every single day. And it's
yeah.
no joke, no coincidence that I'm living my best life. And it's going to get better and better and better because I'm going to continue raising the bar.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, keep going and keep inspiring. And I'm looking forward to the new book coming out. So well done you.
Yeah,
And
I'll send you one when it comes in. I think we're expect to have it in another week. So I'm
thank
excited.
you.
I got to do edits and then hopefully be out in the next month.
Fantastic, fantastic. So I always end every episode with my favorite question. And you said it throughout, but what does thriving alcohol free mean to you, Kelly?
Well, peace, clarity, freedom, love of yourself, massive success. There's absolutely no ceiling, none.
Mm,
And it's the only ceiling is the one you put on yourself, and that is alcohol. So thriving in it's funny. We want to thrive in 2025 because it rolls together.
yeah,
I just released a podcast today on the 5 things to thrive in 2025, and it's my 5 things. So
yeah,
if you do what Dupe and I speak about, you will not regret it, and you will live happier than life, harder than life, healthier than life, and you will start seeing benefits that you had never thought was possible. Keep going.
Yeah. Amazing, amazing. Well, it's been such a privilege to have you on. Thank you so, so much. And I can't wait to see what next. This is amazing. And
I'll think
keep
of
in
something.
touch.
It's just the drive of this 500 workouts. I honestly did not think that one through. I did not. Even if I did 2 a days, it would when would it be done? Somewhere in October. And it's like, oh, I did not think that through well. Or no, it would be September. But
So
my
what are
guess.
you planning on doing for those 500? What do you
So
do?
I call a workout is whenever you get your heart rate elevated to your 80% of your maximum heart rate.
Hmm.
So I'm going skiing. I wasn't going to count that. And I talked to my trainer and he's like, yeah. He's like, you're going mountain skiing and you're going up. He goes, you can count that as a workout. So
Yeah.
majority of the time, about 345 days a year, I go to the gym. I
Yeah.
only miss days when my travel schedule won't let me. Since I don't drink, we didn't even talk about this. I love 6 a.m. flights.
Yes.
Because I'm not out late the night before.
Yeah.
I love those first flights.
Yeah.
So whenever those are, because I work out every day, I do the hardest thing first. I get up,
Yeah.
I do my meditation, I do my gratitude, and then I hightail it to the gym. So by the time anybody wakes up, I'm almost done with all of my things. So
Mm.
I make sure I get to the gym first thing. So my goal is to go 365 days, but again, 500 workouts. I can miss a couple of days. I just have to make up for it. So
Yeah.
my goal is I'm probably going to work out 364 days. The gyms are usually closed on Christmas, and then
Mm.
I'll double up 150 of them, and that'll get me to 500. And I'll hit it somewhere in December probably because I'm going to summer. I might not go as hard. I'm expecting it to be in December, and I got to factor in there could be an injury. I could get sick, but I'm going to hit it. That's the
And
next thing.
what was your why for that?
I'm going to be 50 this year and I want to be in the best shape of my life. I want to be nifty at 50 and I'm fine at 49 and I want to be nifty at 50. And then this way we're expecting a podcast to be number one, have massive, massive amounts of members in our Heart of the Life Nation, the Heart of Life coaching program, teaching everybody to be happier than life and give back to the community. We make massive donations to 3 separate charities here in the States. We have merchandise that's available for people, and we just want to give back. I grew up, I shouldn't be here. Most of my friends are dead or in jail. I'm here for a reason, so I want to make, you said at the very earliest, to make a dent. I'm chasing that massive significance and love nonstop. Oh,
Gosh,
it's a good story.
I love it. Yeah, brilliant, brilliant. Nifty at 50. We all want to be nifty at 50. So
Right?
yes, let's all aspire to that. Absolutely.
Well, you look gorgeous and you keep doing whatever
Oh,
you're doing because
thank
I would have
you.
never guessed that you were
I'm
44 years young.
45 in April.
Oh,
Yeah, I know.
45.
Isn't that amazing?
And if you think about how you feel now, you probably feel better than you did at 25.
Yeah, absolutely.
I,
Yeah,
I, I look
yeah,
better and I feel better than I've ever in my life.
yeah,
Now I'm
yeah.
tired more because I do more, but I used to use alcohol to give me energy, but turns out I can manufacture that on my own.
Absolutely. Well,
Dupe,
it's been a
I
real
really
pleasure.
appreciate being on. Please share this with me when it's out. We'll send it in our newsletter. And if there's ever anything I can do for you, the answer is yes.
Thank you so much. It's been so lovely to meet you, and thank you for being on the Thrive Alcohol Free podcast. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.
Well, thank you, Kelly. I really loved that conversation. It was so lovely to chat to you and hear your story and find out a bit more about what your mission is and how you're making a dent, and just the amazing things you're doing. 500 workouts this year is an incredible challenge to set yourself, and I know you're going to do it. So I can't wait to see that journey. But he shared so many nuggets, and I do hope you got something out of it. The 3 S's, solitude, silence, and stillness, are really key, actually. We should all look at that as something we try to do at least once a week, get into solitude, silence, and stillness and see what comes. And maybe do that to think about what you want to do. What is your intention, as I mentioned at the top of the episode? And if you would like solitude, silence, and stillness, we're going to be doing so many things in Bali that will encourage that. We'll be doing meditation, yoga, breath work, sound healing. All of these will encourage one of those things, if not all of them, solitude, silence, and stillness. And so, as I said, if you are interested in coming to Bali and joining the Finding Freedom Retreat, I'd love to see you there. So do head to the website, have a look at it, and then get in touch. I know that an incredible group of women will come together and will come back nourished, fulfilled, and raring to go, knowing exactly what we're going after and what we want to do. And so I encourage you to at least book a call. Let's have a chat and see if it's the right thing for you. Or feel free to DM me and we can chat via DM as well. If you are doing dry January, you've got one day left. Keep going, get to that one day. And I do hope you continue on this journey. And if you want any support or any encouragement or would like to continue on the journey, or if you haven't done dry January and you're ready now to take that break, join me on Monday for the 21-day challenge and you will be inspired, no doubt, and be able to explore what this lifestyle could look like for you and whether it's right for you. And when we look at it, 21 days in the grand scheme of it isn't a long time. And so just by doing those 21 days, it could potentially change your life. And then you may decide you want to come out on the retreat in Bali as well. So I love to see you there and I'm rooting for you always. I do hope you have the most wonderful week and I will see you on the next episode. Take care. Thank you so much for listening to the Thrive Alcohol Free podcast. If you enjoyed the episode, please subscribe so you get alerted every time I drop a new episode. I'd love it if you could rate, review, and share this episode. Feel free to tag me on Instagram at Thrive Alcohol Free and follow me for daily tips. If you would like to work with me, I offer one-to-one coaching sessions and have my group coaching program. If you're not yet ready for coaching, I also have a self-paced online course, which is a companion to my book, A Cocktail of Clarity. All the links are in the show notes. I will see you in the next episode. Have a wonderful week. Take care.